Hi, and welcome to Kicking and Eating. I'm your host, Shihan, Chef Yah Sigidi. And today's guest has developed a fearsome reputation in the streets after facing multiple opponents with guns and knives, but has always come out unscathed. He was inducted to the Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2010, a Malenga in the African arts of Kupagana Ngumi. He has trained with special forces and has mastered the traditional and contemporary forms of martial arts. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Heru, Nekhet. Welcome, my brother. Kicking and eating. We talk about martial arts and what's happening. Kicking and eating. We breaking bread on the spot thing. Kicking and eating with my guest, that's a sure thing. Kicking and eating. Our praise is due to the one that made all things.
Yeah, man, I've been trying to get you here for a minute. I know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm happy that we finally got you here. You know what I mean?
Happy to be here.
Definitely. First thing I want to ask, did you grow up in New York?
Actually, I grew up in the East New York section of Brooklyn.
All right.
So, when we talk about rough beginnings and, having to put your stuff to the test, East New York was that place.
All right.
I came of age in the 80s when crack was king and crime rate was high. We had over 2,000 homicides a year in the city, and most of them were in my area in East New York. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was the time, like you said, the drug wars.
Yeah.
Everything was happening all over the place. I think I think before that we came out of the 5% and all of that and God Body.
Yeah, a lot of that started when really grew large when I was probably in junior high school. Mm-hmm. That's when you saw that blow up.
Yeah,
really large.
What junior high you went to?
I went to George Gershwin Junior High School.
All right. I read a little about you. What influences or how instrumental was your dad in your life? Because a lot of our brothers out there don't have dads, but from reading about you, I think your dad taught you martial arts at a young age.
My father was a major force in training. I don't remember not training.
Wow.
I'll be 52 in August.
Wow.
And I have no memory of not training.
Leo like myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the ninth.
Yeah, so I don't remember. So I've been training over 50 years because
Wow.
I have no memory of not training.
Wow.
And his background, my father spent 10 years in the military. Was still in the military when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And his first introduction to martial arts was his older brother. He has 3 older brothers, and they were all in the military.
Yeah.
And one of his brothers learned judo while he was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he was still a little kid, his older brother taught him judo.
Wow.
And then his first formal training, when he was in Korea, he learned Aikido, judo, and karate.
Wow.
And then came back to the States and continued. But his thing was not about the tradition. It wasn't about the forms. It wasn't about keeping that style. It was about making it practical.
Yeah.
So that really influenced the way I took on martial arts.
Yeah. Who did your dad learn from?
Like I said, he learned in Korea. I don't know who.
Okay.
I know it was Dam Young School of Martial Arts. That's what it was called. But I don't know. Because that was overseas. I don't know the name.
Yeah. I heard that back in the days, used to come home from parties and stuff because it's kind of crazy. Tell us about that.
Wow, I don't know how you digged all that deep. Brooklyn was just, it was crazy. It was like that. And I've had, incidents where I've had to apply my training in the real world, whether it was doing party security, because I've done that, whether it was, actually being involved in brawls, So the party thing, I don't know how you dug that up. Yeah, I got into a few scuffles, and never was it intentional, or never. My whole nature is to try to avoid, you know, first. And,
Yeah.
But if it comes to it, you know, I'm going to handle my business.
Yeah, self-defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I also want to ask, what do you feel, because I know, like, we neighbors,
Yes.
you know, you got a beautiful family and everything. How instrumental is family, you think, as far, you know, in your life? Because I know as a martial artist, I have classes and I have a family. So I know you have to balance that, you know what I mean?
But my training is for my family.
Okay,
like,
all right.
you know, some people train because they like the art. Some people train for exercise. You know, my whole focus is really to prepare myself to be able to defend my family, my legacy, my home.
Yeah.
You know, so I do it with the intent of making myself so strong in my skill set that it doesn't matter what threat we face or they face, that I'll be able to protect them, you know. And my goal when I walk the streets is to be able to come home to my family.
Yeah.
You know, intact.
Yeah. That's dope. I also, did you always want to become a police officer? Was that a dream?
Never wanted to become.
All right.
That was totally accidental.
All right. You know, because, you know, there are brothers out there, like my pops in the Caribbean. He was he trained in London.
Okay.
You know, London police are one of the most, I think, daring, because they don't no weapons.
Yeah.
You know, but so I kind of know that a lot of times when you want to become a police officer, it's more for family, it's more for maintaining certain things. And a lot of people, when they're young, they may have the idea, but like you said, it was accidental.
Yeah, it was weird. Back when I was, this is back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Way back in the 80s. Back then, the NYPD was going through a lot of turmoil. They had a lot of scandals in terms of corruption. They were losing the drug war. And they came up with a new program, was a cadet corps, where they were trying to train the leadership of the department. And so they were looking for people who were in college, and they would pay for the second half of your college. You had to have been a sophomore when you applied. And so they put this program out there. They came to my school. They were recruiting, and I had another job.
What school were you going to?
I went to Brooklyn College.
All right, Brooklyn College.
Yeah. And my whole life about college was I was playing football. That was my whole thing.
Didn't you go to also LIU or something?
I did go to LIU after.
Yeah.
So I got my master's degree at LIU, but I did undergrad at Brooklyn College. And again, my focus was more on playing football than anything. And so they came recruiting, and I was just trying to impress my father. I just applied. I had no intentions of following up on it or anything.
Wow, was your dad into stuff like that also?
I thought he would be, because I had a menial job. I figured, okay, this will get him off my back a little bit. So I applied for it, and one day they sent me a letter and said show up for the physical, and I really was unhappy with the job I had.
What kind of job were you working?
I worked for Atlas Medal and Trophy Company, putting together medals and trophies. It was not a fun job. It was a really boring job. And so when they called me, I didn't expect to get called because they were only taking 200. So again, back then, police only needed a GED to get.
Was that the Elite Force Corps? Or that was a different?
No, it was a different program.
Okay, right.
So they always come up with these programs. Like I said, they called me, only taking 200. Didn't expect that to happen. Got in, and the training we had was phenomenal. So they had 1,300 regular recruits.
Okay.
And we had 200 cadets.
All right.
And so our training was accelerated. We got to train also with major corporations and leadership. And then we went to Fort Totten and trained at the Army base.
All right.
So totally different training. Then on the job, threw us out there. Regular recruits in the academy 6 months. We did 2 months, got thrown into the precinct on the job training. I was in the 88th precinct, which back then Fort Greene was a mess.
And let me tell you something. What time were you in the 88th precinct?
I was there from June 86 to February 89.
All right, now I had to, because that is funny, because I went to 270.
Wow.
Right? I went to 270. My karate class was in LG.
Okay.
So it's like when I read that, I was like, wow, that's funny. You know what I mean? It's funny because my dad went to Pratt.
Oh wow.
And you know, back in the days, you go through little stuff in school, and I had a fight. So he heard about the class in LG.
Wow.
So he put me in that class. But it's funny that you were a police officer right there.
Yeah.
That is funny. Also, tell me about the elite force, the 200 officers of the elite force cadet corps in '86.
Yeah,
that was the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I was in.
All right.
Yeah, so like I said, I went through that training. But what was good for me, I hated the job. By the way. Couldn't stand it. Hated it. But what was good for me was I got to understand the criminal mindset. I got to understand the patterns of an attack. I used to sit there and read these complaint forms are called UF 61s. So I used to read the 61s all day long. And what I would see was that it seemed like I was reading the same report.
Yeah, the pattern. It's like a pattern.
I was like, wait a minute, I think I just read this. But the dates and the times were different.
Yeah.
But the patterns of attack were exactly the same. So it was really good for me to understand the mindset of people who will assault you, people who will rob you, you know, just this, and the mindset of victims to see how they respond. So, you know, I took that and used that in terms of the training. So that was really important.
To the one that made all things. Jumbo. Big up the ranks that's hitting like gumbo. Podcast lit like power with a jitsu. EP down from bouncy to bolo. Fire with the topics when I interview. It's easy to gritty like sharp as Kinsu. Each one teach one, then we continue. Build and destroy all negative around you. Spilling all the beans so we could grow and feed you. Like and subscribe so we could later hit you.